Present. Mayor.
Yes.
Moran. Eustace. Rice. Here. Chumanello.
Here.
Winfrey. Freitag. And Priscilla. We also have Mr. Brooks.
All right, we don't have any approval of minutes today, so we'll go right to old business, update on the Judicial Center delivery teams.
Morning.
Good morning.
We have a pretty late update today. We're still on track with schedule as we've talked about. We actually we had a meeting just yesterday with Gilbane, so we're working closely with Gilbane, and as we're getting close to our 50% design development submittal, which is going to be completed this week, right? So we're just working through making sure we're in sync, in terms of design and looking at costs and all that. So on track with that, and then as I said last time, our complete design development submittal will be February 3rd. So still got a lot going on here. Today, I don't know how many members are able to join us at the mock-up location. So we're doing our second round of review of the courtroom mock-up. So I think I mentioned before we did a corner bench arrangement, which is the standard bench arrangement for most of the courtrooms, and then a center bench as well for 2 of the special proceeding courtrooms. And that was very well received in our first run through of that. So I think we got really good feedback from all the participants, the judges, the clerks, attorney up in the state, public defender. Great turnout on the first run through. We were able to incorporate some of the changes that were discussed there and some of the considerations. And now we're taking another chance to look at it. So one of the key things that came up, just for a little bit of background, is just trying to make a final determination on where the court reporter would be stationed in the arrangement. Originally through discussions, we had pulled the court reporter out the front of the bench itself. A lot of that comes down to sight lines and that in terms of efficiencies of the court. But we were given some guidance last time to look at an option to move the court reporter back into the bench arrangement. So you'd have clerk positions, judge at the corner, court reporter, and then the witness, all kind of in the corner bench arrangement. So we're looking at 2 options, one where we put the court reporter in there and one where we keep the court reporter out front. So again, it's the reason we do this is to ferret out those issues and make sure that everybody's comfortable with the arrangement before we replicate that 28 times in the new facility. So it's working out pretty well, and we're looking forward to getting some more feedback from the participants again today, and then we'll incorporate that into the design as we keep moving forward. So
Yeah, were all the judges able to get there? Or?
And not all of them. We had a couple of the senior judges on the committee that were able to make it, and I think that the chief has encouraged other judges to come today. We're not 100% sure how many will come. The other thing we've done, and because a lot of it's about schedules and their cases and so forth, we've also given the chief judge a key to the space so that if there's a situation where, a judge or 2 isn't able to make it on one of these scheduled days, that we can have a separate time for them to come out there and take a look at it. Because we want to get as much participation as we can in this to make sure that, everyone's had a chance to provide their feedback and weigh in on the layouts.
You can set a Saturday morning date or an evening date. The judges are not going to schedule conflicts.
Yeah, we've talked to the chief about that, and, whatever works for them, we'll make it work for us. Yeah. Right. The other thing, just one other quick update. We're taking a visit to Grand Rapids tomorrow to take a look at a high-rise, a very similar type of court to what we're designing for your system here, and looking a lot at some of the operational pieces. I think I've talked a little bit about this before. It's going to be a change in terms of the operations of the facility going from the courthouse you have now, just in terms of how the security separations weigh in on how operations need to be handled, how the sheriff moves in custody through the building. We got some feedback from the judicial system out in Maricopa County too. They had actually a pretty interesting software system that was developed internally by one of their corrections officers that really helped to manage the operational flow. They move an incredible number of in-custodies through their facility, much more than you do. But they had a very interesting system in terms of how they manage the assignment of their correctional officers to move in custodies. So I think part of what we're trying to get out of these things is to convey that information to folks in your system to see if there's anything that we can pick up on that helps, enhance the design or streamline the operations. So we're going to be conveying that information to the sheriff's office, this one particular piece, and if it's of any help to them to streamline operations, that's the objective.
Okay. Anything else?
As Jason said, we met yesterday with the team out at Wight's Office Center, going through the 50% preview of the DD documents we got. Our chief estimator and I met, and we met with an eye of seeing where we were against the SD value analysis items, Mike, that we discussed in our meeting at, I think, September 19th through 16th. Okay. And that was one of the big focuses. Jason and his guys had kind of helped that along and went through and kind of previewed from what we had in the estimate, the key things we were looking for the value engineering, and kind of gave a summary of where we were with that. So our guys will be continuing to look at that. We'll get the drawings, I think, this Friday the 18th will be the official 50% DD set. And then we'll look to see where we are with those. And the evaluation of different options, finishes, materials, and so forth, in the walls, ceilings, floors, and so forth, in the courtrooms, corridors, lobby. And then looking at just pretty much everything that we've got in the DD. And then that is all in leading up to the DES, I think, on the DD issue of the 100% DD documents on February 3rd. So then we'll, in earnest, do another total re-estimate of the project at that time. In the meanwhile, we'll look at different systems, inside and outside, exterior, interior, and so the cost analysis will continue all the way through DD.
Yeah, and Dave and I had this conversation too. I think what's key for this committee is when you do bring some of those cost analysis forward, remember, it's not just the acquisition cost, it's the operational cost. So if something costs us a little bit more in the front, but it saves us money in the back end, we need to see both of those numbers so we can see what it really costs us, what the real value is of that thing that we're looking at. Yeah, instead of just that upfront cost. If you spend $500,000 more up front, but you save $1 million down the line, that's a win.
Yeah.
We need both of those.
Okay.
One other, I wanted to just weigh in on that. I think I wanted to get your feedback. At the schematic design phase, we're trying to find what's the appropriate level of information to bring to this committee, and I think a handful of folks had an opportunity to spend a little more time with us to kind of really work through. I mean, it's a big, complex building, and certainly you probably don't want to get in the weeds into every little detail of it, but we want to make sure we're bringing the appropriate level of information to the committee so you guys can fully understand, what we're doing in design and provide the guidance we need on it. Do you feel like it worked last time in terms of how we did it, where we had a couple sessions where we went through the process, and then I think we ended up giving you maybe a 30, 40-minute overview of the schematic design, just to kind of give you the full picture of it. I guess I'm just looking for a little feedback to determine, was that a good level of information? Do you feel like you're seeing enough, too much, not enough?
Yeah, well, I do think whether we have to make perhaps some decisions sooner than later. The exterior of the building, we have to make that decision sooner than later. I do think that for those some crucial components, like the skin of the building and so forth, we should be making those and may bring more information, which you did last time. So you kind of put out, well, here's the exteriors we're looking at. But it does sound like that decision has to be made sooner than later. So in those areas that you think that are crucial, or if there's considerable lead time ordering materials or getting materials here, I think that maybe we should focus on that and maybe make those decisions. Give us some additional information. We can narrow down the choices because, as Mike mentioned, those choices just aren't about the initial cost. Those are the lifetime costs of the exterior is what we're looking at. And we're looking at the aesthetics, or, you know, how it looks. So those kind of things I think we should have more discussion on to make the decision in an appropriate time line, so.
Yeah, that one actually is one that we were close to having a full package that we're ready to present to you all today. We're just not quite there. We want to make sure that, you know, collectively our team has fully vetted that, and we can make a good recommendation to this committee and have real information about what the performance criteria is going to be, where we think there's advantages and disadvantages, and if there is a cost implication, what that cost is, so you have all the information you need to make the decision.
I mean, the other areas that we might weigh in, and we're going to go look today, but we might talk about materials in the millwork within the courtrooms, because, you know, that can vary considerably, both the materials and the cost. Now, realizing the judges have input on that, but I do think they're also, at least the chief judge is also mindful of the budget. So, you know, that may be something we talk about sooner than later, even though it may be something that is on the back end. It certainly impacts the budget, could impact the budget considerably, right?
Yes.
So that may be something we want to talk about sooner than later, and make decisions on.
Agreed.
When do you guys turn off yours?
I'll shut mine off, Chuck.
You know, we have a different role here now too. We're taking on kind of the role of with the Public Building Commission. And I would kind of lean on your experience with the Public Building Commission, Jim, to see what kind of details this committee really needs to get into. Because I agree with everything that you're saying, but is it, I mean, it can't be just a kind of a 50,000-foot overview anymore. I think we're taking on that role. And again, I would lean on you a little bit with your experience.
Let me say this. We have a schedule, right? And it says, you know, the schedule really says, we're going to start this date, and we're going to have occupancy on this date. Okay? But we could have another schedule, decision-making schedule. And then certain decisions have to be made in these time frames. So that may be a good way to present it to the committee to say, here are decisions you're going to have to make along the way to move forward in a timely fashion. So I think that may be the way to approach it. So if you give us like the decision-making schedule, you know, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, because I think if we don't want to just come in and get an overview after the fact. I mean, we want to be in that process before the fact, and I agree with Jim. I think that's a really good idea if we can get that kind of decision-making process and what the key categories of decisions need to be made on that time frame.
Yeah, and I think based on the meetings that we had, the first series of meetings that we had over at Jason's office, we went through a lot of those items. I mean, some of them, like the toilets and the holding cells and stuff, that kind of stuff was decided. The numbers didn't make as much difference either way, but it was decided based on what needed to be operational, what they needed. Now we have to look at those things like skin or glass or things that are going to be the bigger dollar amounts that we may have to make a decision. And even though you're going to make a recommendation based on that, that's the presentation part that we should get. The smaller stuff, most of it was decided because of need, and the dollar amount didn't make that much of a difference as far as the need of one or the other. So it's those bigger items that are going to affect things. Dave?
One of the key issues that the project team is seeking direction on, I mean, you hit a very key point, Mike, and that is this. You know, we had a schematic design, okay? We developed a total project cost budget, and the design development process is evolving, okay? And there are going to be major decisions that impact cost, and the question comes as, and some of them, you know, could be offset, some of the more routine decisions could be offset by, you know, changes or reductions in other areas, but there are certain features, right, that you know, are going to have cost implications, and so we're looking for a little direction here because And, you know, I think the answer, as we discussed this yesterday, is that, you know, when it comes to something major, it has to be presented and considered on a case-by-case basis.
Well, like the skin, we need to
Right.
have
Case
a
in point.
presentation on the skin. You're not ready yet, that's great, because we want you to be completely ready. There shouldn't be any questions that we should ask that you won't have the answers for when you're ready at that point. So, that's one. Elizabeth?
So I think the level of information has been really good, you know, not too much detail, but I completely agree, Mr. Mooses, about the timeline. That's something that I seem to be lacking in understanding in, and I think that that would help a lot going forward. So I just want to come out in strong support of that approach.
Yeah, so if you list out those major decisions that we have yet to make and give us the timeline, obviously the skin's going to be critical because that affects other things. Something inside a finish, you know, may not affect it as much, and you could put that in your timeline too, but I wouldn't put 50 things in there. I don't think there's 50 things that have to be decided. A lot of that minutia has been dealt with, those bigger things.
Yeah, I think just kind of big picture, for us, the best is to get through those major decisions kind of between where we're at now at this 50% design development and completion of design development, which is February 3rd. Now, the only hard part about that is I think you don't really have a meeting in December. So, you know, if there's some information that we're looking for some guidance on, is that a possibility to
Just throw a
schedule?
holiday party and have a.
If I-
Open it up to the whole world?
Bring food or something, I don't know.
If I can speak to that, you know, and Mary, I'm going to bring you in on this. We are going to have to meet more often, which means if there's more than two of us, you have to, it's a meeting. Even if we go out like to Wight for a presentation or whatever, we go out to the Wight office, you know, we're going to have to post those meetings if we're going to attend. Before we weren't doing some of that, so like Mike would go and Reagan would go, and then it would be it, and they would report back, kind of thing. But I do think going forward, we all need to participate if you're available, which means we will be posting in those meetings, which means the public is available. You need to know that means the public. You know, if we went out to your office, for example, Jason.
Mary has a question.
I'm a little concerned about going to.
Well, let me
offices.
finish though. Let me finish. We not only have to post it, but we also have to make accommodations for the public.
But even with that, I think Wight is outside of Will County, their offices. So that,
So I'm gonna use
that,
what-
you know, I mean,
I'm
if there's
gonna
a
use,
special reason they have things that can't be moved here or something like that, then that's a reason to have the meeting there. But otherwise, the meeting should be in Will County.
For your presentation, Dave, you're talking about doing, you could have here.
We could do it here.
Well, the point, I guess the point I wanted to make is that we posted,
If we have to be-
and you have to be available. I mean, you have to understand now, we can meet 3-4 times in a short period of time, if we had to. So this
Jason,
committee should be,
yeah, so I mean, you,
prepared to do that.
on the couple of things that we're in skin, and especially in some other things, are you going to be ready second, third week of December to be able to position that?
Yeah.
And I think we just need to get some dates, that everybody's still going to be in town, that hopefully we can meet if it's the second week of December or whatever.
We'll have to meet in December.
Yeah, so we'll definitely try to get that on the schedule there.
Yeah, and then, you know, finishes, that is another one. I mean, you know, there's a host of key issues. It's not 100, you know, I think if we can bundle them into groups like that. I mean, a lot of them come in packages if we're looking at a certain thing. I mean, if we're trying to drive hard to keep the budget tight, we may, you know, we can take it in bigger chunks, I guess, to kind of talk about, you know, what decisions are. It's just always better for us to have, you know, good input from ownership, collective ownership to, you know, we don't like to make any of those decisions in a vacuum, because then people will show up on opening and say, wait a minute, this isn't right.
It's one other point I'd like to make. In December, we'll have a reorganized board. Herb and I will be working on committee assignments along with other leadership. I don't know if this whole committee that's on requesting to come back here or not. But we could have a different makeup for this committee. I think all those who want to continue to serve on this committee will get their wishes. But I'm just pointing that out too. Come December, we could be able to.
We have a county board meeting on the 14th of December, I believe.
15th.
15th, rather.
And
I
we
was
will
going to
have-
suggest maybe the 14th as a potential day for.
Well, we'll have an executive committee meeting, and we'll also have a Forest Reserve District meeting. We can meet after those.
That would be on the 8th. There would be Forest Preserve at 9:30, executive at 10 on the 8th.
So maybe,
But everything will come through executive, Jim, so it could be a little bit longer meeting.
well, the thing is I'm just saying, that we could meet like on that day, if you want to say,
On which day you're talking?
Thursday, the 8th.
The 8th?
Or I would suggest the 14th, the day before.
Scheduling, I mean, we don't have anything scheduled on the 14th.
No, we
Is that
don't.
right?
Not yet.
No. So you're talking about creating
Creating for this committee.
this committee?
I mean, we're,
Our, just
It's not good for you guys?
Our normal
No.
second meeting would be the 20th. But I know a lot of people won't want that.
That's a bad week, that's really, it's like a.
Is Forest Reserve committee meetings, are they going to have them on the 7th?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think they
because
meet in December.
No.
I think they'll have their, on the 8th, and I may be wrong, but isn't that when they will elect their president and have that news of
The 12th.
8th?
I think it's in the calendar on the 12th.
I'm just saying, we could, there's the 7th, the 8th.
it's a Monday.
I'm just telling you, it's not the usual Thursday that,
That would be a better week than the week of the 19th.
So you got the
Yeah.
7th, the
I can't
8th,
go to the 19th.
12th.
so the reorganization meeting is December 12th at 9:30 in the morning for the Forest Reserve. There are no committee meetings that day.
My birthday is the 18th, and I'll have a hangover with the 19th. I won't be sober on the 19th. Right.
Did you say 9:30 on the
14th, okay, well, 14th is fine.
It says in our calendar.
All right, how's the 14th?
Like all the time.
It's Wednesday.
14th, guys?
I live here, so.
So you want to do it on the Wednesday?
Okay, so,
Wednesday the 14th.
okay.
What time? I got a phone.
9:30.
9:30.
9:30.
Okay, so that's December the 14th at 9:30.
For capital committee. You're gonna put that in our calendars.
Okay.
Here.
No, okay. They did confirm that the 12th is Forest Reserve here in this building, so everyone will be here for that.
So you can do it the 12th in the afternoon. We're all here.
Let's do that.
Let's do the 12th. Yeah, that makes more sense.
We're all here, that's a quick meeting,
Usually a short
really.
meeting, yeah.
That'll be done by 10 o'clock, at 10 o'clock on the 12th?
Yeah.
Okay,
9:30.
so,
Make it 9:30.
Yeah, no sooner than.
Yeah, 9:30.
okay, I think they start though at 9:30, so can we set this for 10
10.
o'clock, but no,
10:30.
or no sooner than 10, but immediately following?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, that's December 12th. All right.
Now, on that, if I can ask, Mr. Chairman, on that meeting, Jason, what is it? I heard you talk about a lot of things this morning. Specifically, where you guys, I'm asking the committee, asking Jason to bring back for the 12th for
Skin the presentation for sure, right?
the surface.
Yeah, that'd be one major one is trying to get to a final determination of the scheme.
I mean, if there's something else.
Yeah, we may
I
have a couple other things. We'll try not to, inundate you with 100 things, but if we can have a couple other key things that we're looking for guidance
Okay.
on, we'll bring those to that meeting as well.
Okay.
The skin dictates a lot of other things.
It does, the skin
So
dictates the
that one-
structure, which is kind of key. I mean, the two systems
We
are
did
very
that,
different in
though.
their weight, so we're kind of at a standstill right now on
Yeah.
making the structural design.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Get that done. Like you said, if you've got one or two other things, as long as it's not 15 on one thing.
Sounds good.
Great. Anything else, Michael?
Yeah, I was just going to give a quick update with the commissioning process. So as these decisions are made, Wight has a template that's called Choosing by Advantage. So we're listing out evaluation criteria for each option that's available. So if it's a skin or if it's a mechanical system, we're looking at assisting with that evaluation criteria. Really, with commissioning, we're thinking down the line to construction and how these assemblies are going to be tested, and making sure that there's a level of quality control that can be verified, as like an example, an envelope assembly would be, as it's installed, to be able to test that. So that's kind of been our focus the last couple of weeks here, is getting that evaluation criteria really solidified, and then getting that documented in the owner's project requirements, the OPR document. So that document then really makes sure that we're documenting decisions made, major decisions made, making sure we're looking at things like life cycle costs and such. So we're just kind of continuing along those lines. We should have a draft of the OPR, the next draft going out along with the 50% DDs here on Friday for everyone's review. But beyond that, that's kind of where we're at with commissioning.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks. Next up is the update on the public safety complex.
So which one put up on the screens?
Do you want the computer set up for every meeting? Okay, I will make a note to do that then. No worries. All right, good morning. Good morning. So this is our bi-weekly construction report update. So the first one is the billing update. We have 2 billings in September and October. For September, we had 11% complete for the earthwork, which was a total of 4% complete on the total project. For the month of October, which was our second construction bill, we had a 6% total project complete, and that related to 44% of the earthwork and about 50% of the site utilities and 7% of the steel, which equated to the fabrication. So that's the billing update. So right at this moment, we're about 6% complete on the total project. Substantial completion, so the original substantial completion was 3/19/18. We have since then moved it up to 12/27/17. So that's what we're tracking right now, and we're being able to do that because we're working Saturdays on the critical path, and that's been working so far.
And do you feel that 6% you're on
Yep.
schedule at this point?
Yeah, we work every Saturday, and we only work the critical path people. So if we look at it on a Friday and we say, you don't need to work because you're not on, and when I say critical path, it basically means the trades that affect substantial completion. So you could have a path that they're going on at the same time, but they're not necessarily critical to that 12/27.
Right.
So we strategically look at the schedule and make sure that we're using those dollars wisely. But it has been working out so far.
Great. Weather's been kind too, right?
Very kind to us, and so we're taking advantage of that every day.
Good.
And that's why we decided to do the slab first instead of second, so we could even keep, because at any point it could turn, so we're taking advantage as much as we can from a concrete standpoint.
Awesome.
So from a construction update, you can see that I've given you guys 4 pictures, but mainly we've installed the water main on the Phase 2 property next to the maintenance building. And Phase 2, for all of you who don't know, is just the current for the existing Laraway main building 6, because obviously we can't do construction there because they're currently in there. So that's what we mean by Phase 2. So we worked on that. We finished framing all of the concrete walls and actually got them ready to pour. We stripped the foundation walls and actually poured the north wall, and we're working on pouring the other walls this week. We worked on installing the south and the north storm lines, and then we also worked on tilling the Portland cement for soil stabilization. And also, we plan on in the next 2 weeks installing the underground plumbing and electrical before we pour the slab. There's a lot of underground work under the slab that has to be done. And since we decided to do the slab first, which was not necessarily in the schedule that way, we worked diligently with our contractors and also DLR to coordinate that work so we can install that, and that should be going on in the next 2 weeks. Then roughly, tentatively, the first week in December, the first floor slab and grade will be poured. And in mid-December, we're looking at to begin starting to erect steel. So that's our update. Any questions?
Is your question, Joe?
Our overtime budget is holding up, and we're on schedule with that too, as far as the budgetary
Yeah, so
perspective.
what we do is we submit it monthly, so Dave actually hasn't seen one yet, because if I sent it weekly, it would just be time consuming, so I try to do it month to month. So the first one in October will actually go to Dave this month, so that way he can see from month to month. But right now, it's keeping on track at this point. I'm not
Well, we can add
necessarily
that
worried.
we can certainly add
Oh, yeah,
that
absolutely.
to this summary report for the committee.
Yeah, that's a great, I was just gonna say, that's a great point. If you see something in this report that you'd like to see, it's a soft copy Word document. I can add or delete anything you don't want. So just let me know, and you can change every week if you wanted to.
Jake?
You know, we're working through a tremendous number of submittals right now, and, you know, this goes hand in hand really with what Leopardo is trying to do in terms of hedging bets from a schedule point of view. That's an important thing, and I think it follows through from what has been a fast-tracked approach all the way along. It continues to be a fast-tracked approach right now, and what that involves is a lot of back-checking, so to speak, to make sure that the dollars are following behind, that they correlate to the proper bid packages. So we've been in the process of issuing a series of Architect Supplemental Instructions, or ASIs. We've issued several proposal requests that have to do both with original scope work as well as some additional scope work, which was necessitated by the work that's involved in the deletion of the impound lot, the work that's involved in the tower location, the future utilities for the SOG building. So quite a bit of work that is both germane directly to the public safety complex as well as sort of setting the table for future considerations on that site. So there's a lot going on that maybe is a little bit transparent, but is going on behind the scenes to allow for this fast-track construction process to take place, and properly checking and vetting the process as we go along, making sure that that there's a high level of quality going into everything that goes into the project as well.
Michael?
Yeah, so from a commissioning standpoint, we're working with DLR currently. As you know, we're trying to develop this OPR kind of retroactively, right? We didn't have it developed in the design phase, so we're really trying to gather enough information from past decisions and discussions and get that documented at this point in time in the OPR. And then we can kind of move forward. One of our goals too is making sure there's consistency across this building, but other facilities, like the courthouse, making sure that decisions made, on product type or hot button issues with your O&M staff are really being vetted so that those things get in the OPR and get on these projects. So we're trying to make sure that communication's happening across those two fronts, making sure that we're moving the direction of optimizing your O&M processes and management too, and getting these facilities kind of set up so that your O&M process can kind of easily fit in with that. So we're moving in that direction. We have that constructability review that we're wrapping up here, which, as I mentioned last time, ties in some of the CDAC incentives. So we got that in communication with DLR currently, and we're wrapping up our comments and discussion points for that. So that'll be kind of a forthcoming discussion actually this week to close those up. And then in addition, Jake mentioned there's a lot of submittal reviews. With commissioning, we actually review the submittals, the construction submittals concurrently with the architect or the engineer, and then we provide them with comments. So we're making sure that the submittals, it's kind of like the last chance before equipment gets ordered, making sure if there's anything out of alignment with an owner's requirements, et cetera, that we're catching those and having those discussions before that equipment gets approved and ordered. So we're also working on that task too with commissioning.
Okay, questions?
I just had a comment, going back to the construction report. So I really like this, and thank you for it.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Dave?
Before, just two things that I wanted to mention. Number one is if any of the committee members are interested in taking a look at the new planning process or the scheduling process and this collaboration.
Oh, the full planning?
And it's a new thing for me. It's a new thing for the county. So far, it's been working out pretty well. And
Absolutely.
I mean, it's
We would-
nothing magical, but it is, you know, it's effective.
It's
And
very effective.
to see that at one of the meetings where all the foremen for the various trades come together with the construction manager, with the architect, with the commissioning agent, and talk about the impact of scheduling changes and/or you know, changes made to the schedule based on other variables, and how that can best be rearranged to maintain that path forward. And it's a very, so far so good. It's very impressive. And so anytime that, they're once a week.
They're happening today at 10:30? No, they are.
So
Like Tuesday,
if anyone
every
wants-
Tuesday at
wants
10:30,
to
from
do it,
10:30
we've
to
got,
12.
you know, we have like the field office set up in the double wide trailer out there. So I mean, if it's something that anyone's interested in, please let us know.
We encourage it. We ask Dave anytime he can come, because there's going to be owner things, and if the architect can come, they've been welcome too. Everyone's welcome. It's an open book, and it helps to have as many people as you can, so everyone can ask questions from their own point of view. And we actually find that typically when we're not expediting the schedule, that we actually do better on the schedule because of all the planning that happens every week with it.
Question for the state's attorney. If more than 2 or 3 of us show up, do we have a problem?
Well, you know what, Mary, let me ask, you know,
And if
I
so-
don't always say this, but if we just show up.
If you
and
just show up
to-
and listen, you're
Listen,
fine.
as long as we're not participating, we're fine.
Correct.
I mean,
Yeah.
so it's, by the way, and it is a meeting, when you go to those meetings, it is a meeting, you just sit there and listen.
Yeah.
Don't bother the professionals. You'll learn a lot, just don't disrupt their flow, you know, so if we go to just listen.
Correct, if you're just observing, but if you're providing input, that's when you start to.
And you can wait till you get here to do that.
This every
You always
Tuesday?
call Dave.
Every
Say
Tuesday
Dave, by
at
the way.
10:30. And what we do is, it's an hour and a half, and we are, I mean, literally taking Post-it notes, and each subcontractor has their own color, and they do it from a day-to-day duration. And so we do it all the way up until 8 weeks. So we're solely looking at the first 2 weeks, just from, okay, this is actually what's gonna happen the next 2 weeks, and we're trying to plan out the 6 other weeks to make sure that when we come to it, we're constantly planning. And so it's great from a visual standpoint, because we start to see, you can see who's overlaying who and how it's really affecting something. And you can see it further out. So when you get to that 2 weeks, you've already looked at it about 8 times before you actually get to that point. And it's also a great buy-in from a foreman standpoint, because you always hear from, you know, the office told you this, but it's really going to take this. And so it gets them to kind of buy into their own schedule. And so, and you get it firsthand, well, you're going to build it, so you tell me then. And so it's really getting them to be honest and open and say, you know, yeah, I know they told you 2 weeks, but it's just not going to happen. And you kind of say why, and you get honest feedback from them, because they feel important that it's not just, okay, go build it.
And even if you go to just one, I did this with the jail, it's very eye-opening
Mhm.
to get a handle on how all these players play together nicely in the sandbox.
Yep. And they're held accountable, which is great too, because if they don't get something done, you actually say that week why, and they have to say, I didn't have enough manpower, or there was a rain delay or whatever. So they actually have to explain why. And it's not an interrogation, it's just, you know, hey, we planned for this, why didn't you get it done? And it's funny because they say you don't want to have 100%, like everyth's done, because that means you sandbagged. So you're actually shooting for 85% of what you planned of 100%, and that's kind of a good scale. So it's funny that you would think it would be 100, and they say, no, you're actually just trying to get 85 each week is the target.
Mary, my question with you, if 3 or 4 county board members did show up and say we had a question, would that change the dynamics of presence of our meeting?
I don't think a simple question changes the dynamics, but I mean, you don't want to start getting too far into the
Correct.
business of it.
But we are allowed to ask a question if we didn't understand something?
Sure.
Okay.
Clarifying versus directing.
There we go.
Right.
Clarify. Thank you,
Exactly.
Chuck.
All right, anything else? Thanks, guys. All right. We'll go right through new business. We'll go pretty quick here. This is authorizing payment. So first up, we have authorizing payment to Wight and Company for the judicial complex. Move. Second. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Authorizing payment to ComEd for the Will County judicial complex. Move. Second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Authorizing payment to Gilbane for the judicial complex. Move. Second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Authorizing payment to the Farmsworth Group for the judicial complex. Moved and second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Authorizing payment to Robin Schwartz for the Will County Public Safety Complex and Judicial Complex. Moved and second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Authorizing payment to Leopardo Companies for Public Safety Complex.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Authorizing payment to H.R. Green for the Will County Public Safety Complex. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Authorizing payment to Stromla Architecture Group for Will County Public Safety Complex. Moved and second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. And authorizing payment to DLR Group for the Will County Public Safety Complex. Moved and second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Do you have any other new business? Dave?
Just two things, seeking some direction from the committee relative to the newly scheduled meeting in December, on December the 12th. Would it be appropriate to present the invoices for the month of November at that committee meeting?
Let's see why not.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody kill two birds.
Okay.
We were looking at January, we were
Right.
getting scared.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you, and then just as an informational item, Commonwealth Edison, we're working together with Commonwealth Edison in the 12th Circuit to coordinate a transformer replacement potentially over this weekend. It's not been definitive, but a couple of things that we need to clear up first, but I just wanted to let you know that that is in the works, and we're doing everything possible to minimize disruption and allow the utility to move forward with their equipment replacement. So I just wanted to mention that, so in case anybody asks, it is tentatively scheduled for this week. So that's it. Thank you.
All right, cool. Any public comment? Public comment? Public comment? I don't have any report. We don't have an executive session. We're going to adjourn, but the next meeting for all those of you that want to go is going to be at the 113, what is it? 113, 14 Southwest Highway in Orland Park.
And when they say parking, how limited?
Oh, it's just a little strip mall, so.
Jason could
Yeah,
answer.
there's only a handful, maybe 20 parking spots in front, and I know when we had the group there last time, they actually asked us to move some cars because there was active businesses in there. There is some parking just as you enter the street. Right to the right is the strip center. If you go just past the first drive entry, the second drive entry, there's more parking in the back. And then I think it kind of leads into a residential neighborhood. I don't know how many people will be coming, but there's probably street parking there as well.
All right.
I'll be out the corner, carpool.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved, second.